Let's jump into the wide receivers on the waiver wire, and we have to start with the guy that had a monster week in Puka Ngata. As you're going to see him at the top here, available in 93% of leagues. Tried to warn you, and Puka Ngata.
We talked up Puka Ngata quite a bit.
We did, but
Jay laughed at us.
We did,
but only because we weren't sure on the pronunciation.
Puka Ngata, 15 targets, 10 catches, 119 yards against the Seattle secondary. Upcoming schedule against the Niners, which is always scary. The Bengals, that's a good defense. Then he has Indianapolis and the Eagles as well. But I think the bottom line here is, Barry, Puka Ngata is going to be a favorite target of Matthew Stafford this year.
One of two players with a 40% target share.
Sorry, killed the
right.
other one.
Right? I mean, right, seriously. He had 15 targets. That was him and Tirico Hill tied for the most targets in week number 1. He also tied for the team lead in routes run. Look, we were not surprised he was involved. We talked about this on Fantasy Football pregame Sunday morning. We mentioned him as kind of a sneaky ad as well. We've talked about him on this show previously when the Cooper Kupp injury happened. That, look, this is somebody they like a lot, that had a really strong camp. And we know that Matthew Stafford likes to focus on one person. So my point is Puka Ngata, which I think means no worries, is absolutely a real thing. Oh, is that what it is? Hakuna Matata means no worries. All right. Puka Ngata means fantasy goodness is what that means. So anyway, I think he's a priority ad. I do not think this was a fluke. I think he will have a role when Cooper Kupp comes back. If Cooper Kupp comes back, he is the Rams' pass catcher that I want the most. This is not a fluke.
He was the 5th highest rated wide receiver by PFF grade in week 1. He's unbelievable. Look, he's plus 3,000 to an offensive rookie of the year. Like, how high is the ceiling on Puka Ngata?
Well, and look, we talked about this like 2 weeks ago when, like I told you, I got a text from my buddy Jim Nagy who runs the Senior Bowl, and he's just like, of all the kids out, he's like, I just got out of my fantasy draft and I drafted Puka Ngata in the last round. I'm telling you, this kid can play. So I'm just, I'm just telling you that. They know what they got there in LA. They're very excited about it. Tutu Atwell as well, by the way, sort of bypassed Van Jefferson as well. He had 5 deep targets in week 1. We know Stafford likes to sling it. 5 was 8 targets came in the slot, so they're moving Tutu Atwell around quite a bit as well. 6 for 119. Again, they're playing the Niners this week, but I do think it's going to be Ngata and Atwell in that order for the Rams passing attack.
Yep. How about the forgotten man in the Jacksonville offense, Zay Jones, available in almost 70% of the leagues. He has targeted 7 times, 5 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown against the Colts. And Jay, I mean, he outperformed Christian Kirk in this game. I'm not going to say that's going to be a constant, but Zay Jones, he matters.
I will.
Yeah, I think there's a new forgotten man in Jacksonville, and his name's Christian Kirk. I might rather just have Zay Jones going forward with that offense.
100%. Look, that's their offense, is Ridley and Zay Jones on the outside. Christian Kirk played almost entirely in the slot, and that's what they want to do. And so they're going to be going 2 wide, more than 3 wide, a decent amount. And so Zay Jones, who very quietly last year had 82 receptions, just by comparison, more than Amari Cooper, more than Terry McLaurin. So Zay Jones, who played on 88% of the offensive snaps, compared with just 61% to Christian Kirk, just as we're sort of talking about there. Zay Jones is going to be a thing. And this is going to be a pass-first offense. It's going to be a good offense. Kansas City, Houston, Atlanta, and then Buffalo in London. But the next 3 weeks line up really nicely for the Jaguars offense.
In Green Bay, Romeo Doubs capitalized off of no Christian Watson this week available for Jordan Love, and Christian Watson's dealt with a lot of injuries already in his young career. Doubs, only 5 targets, 4 catches. The yardage isn't there with 26, but he does end up catching 2 touchdowns. My one caveat in this one, Barry, it just feels like everybody goes off against the Bears defense lately. It's
cut to Chicago. Yeah. Wow, we're taking a shot. But yes, 100% agreed. It doesn't look like, if Christian Watson is out once again, you certainly like Doubs. Tied for the team lead with 5 targets. He scored on both of his red zone targets. He is, to the extent they have anyone, a veteran, right? I know it's only his 2nd year, but again, they're just so young in that receiver room. So Doubs, who's available in almost 70% of leagues, gets the Falcons next week. How about Kendrick Bourne? I think this guy is really interesting, right? 6 for 64 and 2 touchdowns. He had a 20% target share, 11 targets. Now, is Mac Jones throwing it 50 times every week? Obviously not. And Devontae Parker was not active for this game, but still, Kendrick Bourne is one of those guys that when he's gotten an opportunity, whether it was in San Francisco, whether it's in New England, I feel like he always produces.
Yeah, he really does.
I agree. And another guy to watch, Rashid Shaheed, who went 5 for 89 on a
Connor's guy.
touchdown, 6 targets. Really could have had a deep bomb touchdown at the end as well that Derek Carr just missed him on. He is a guy, I mean, it looks like they're going to be able to support 3 wide receivers because Michael Thomas, my man, was also good too.
That was my biggest question. I thought Shaheed would really get a huge bump when Thomas inevitably gets banged up, but it looks like all 3 of these guys are going to matter under Derek Carr's passing attack.
What will be interesting to see is what happens when they play a defense they can run against. They couldn't run against Tennessee, so they had to throw the ball, right? And there's no Alvin Kamara. So what happens in 4 weeks when we're up against teams that they can run against and they have Kamara back? All of that said, here's our upcoming schedule. And we've talked about this all throughout the preseason, just how ridiculously easy the Saints schedule is, why we love the Saints defense. But they're at Carolina this week, then they're at Green Bay, they're home to Tampa Bay, they're at New England. Like none of those, at New England is probably the scariest place to play, but still, they should be able to move the ball reasonably effectively against the Patriots. So I'm not ready to say, yes, they're going to pass enough to support 3 wide receivers, but I will say that Shaheed looked really good and gives them an element that they don't have.
He did.
Okay, and then we'll close
I
out
have it in Olave,
with some
but
Steelers.
Beyond Olave.
With the Steelers here, it sounds like Deontay Johnson is going to miss some time. What does that do, Barry, for Allen Robinson in this offense that really struggled against the Niners week 1?
Suddenly makes him somewhat relevant. Now, here's the question. Allen Robinson's been playing the slot, and if you told me, hey, Allen Robinson's going to continue to play in the slot, great. Love that because there'll be more targets. This will be a better offense than what they showed against San Francisco, right? The only concern is, like, they've got Calvin Austin, right? They've got other guys. They've got smaller guys there like Olszewski, right?
Yep.
That are going to play in this, that feel like they're much more better suited to the slot. So Allen Robinson, who can play outside, we don't want him to play outside, you know what I mean? But he can play outside. But if he stays in the slot, I think he becomes pretty interesting. They're home to Cleveland this week. I believe that's the Monday night game. Then they're at Las Vegas, at Houston, then home to Baltimore. So 2 of the next 3 games are really nice matchups for him. Deontay Johnson expected to be sidelined a few weeks with that hamstring injury. George Pickens, sky's the roof for him, and I wonder if we see more Jaylen Warren as well as part of this passing attack. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.